Hello, my name is Cayce Giblin, and I'm majoring in political science and minoring in Arabic here at Bloomsburg University. I'm also a cadet in the ROTC program. I chose to do my presentation on America's Secret War in Africa. I chose this topic because not many people know about the happenings in Africa and how specifically our military and our government are involved with the terrorist organizations and the nations abroad in Africa. So I wish to inform students of why America is involved and how we are involved throughout this presentation. First, let's examine the military relations of the United States around the world. Across all five branches, there are approximately 200,000 troops stationed in more than 800 military bases around the world. The bases with the highest concentration of troops are Germany, Japan, and South Korea. To maintain these, the United States military defense budget sends about $100 billion annually to the abroad missions. This money goes towards operations, personnel, research, and development. Now examining the military presence in Africa. It is not as large as in Japan or South Korea, but it has grown in the last decade with many increasing threats from different organizations. Across the continent of Africa, the United States has more than 6,000 military personnel stationed. Most of these troops being stationed in Djibouti's Camp Lemonnier, which houses around 4,000 troops along with many drones and aircrafts. The rest of the troops are scattered among the other sub-Saharan nations, like Camp Samba in Kenya, which houses 60 troops, along with a drone base in Niamey, Niger, that houses 100 personnel. These operations are handled by U.S. Africa Command, or commonly referred to as U.S. AFRICOM, which is one of the 9 unified combatant commands around the world. It was created in 2007 with the goal to strengthen our security cooperation with Africa and create new opportunities to bolster the capabilities of our partners in Africa, according to a statement made from the White House. It is currently operating along 5 lines of effort. First, neutralize al-Shabaab in Somalia. Second, contain the instability in Libya. Third, contain and degrade Boko Haram. Fourth, interdict illicit activity in Central Africa. And lastly, build peacekeeping and disaster assistance throughout the nation or continent. This brings us to who we are actually fighting in Africa. More specifically, which terrorist organizations we are dealing with. The 2 major groups that I found are Boko Haram and al-Shabaab, who have gained support in the past decades and have grown throughout the years. First, let's look at Boko Haram. The group was created in 2002 under the leadership of Muhammad Yusuf. Their main area of focus is in Nigeria, and more specifically, the northern states of Nigeria, like Yobe, Kano, and Borno. With their first known attack coming in 2003, when over 200 militants carried out a unified attack on multiple police stations, their efforts and violent actions have only grown to increase their power both in their nation and their surrounding countries. Since then, they have committed many acts of terrorism. One being in 2010, where 50 militants attacked a prison, causing the escape of 700 inmates, along with killing 5 people throughout. Or the one on September 17, 2013, where Boko Haram militants disguised themselves in military uniforms and staged a fake checkpoint in Borno, where they burned cars and executed at least 143 who were killed. Soon after, on November 13, 2013, the United States State Department added Boko Haram to its list of terrorist organizations, which brought the United States to aid of Nigeria. However, Boko Haram did not gain global attention until April 14, 2014, when militants abducted around 276 girls from a boarding school in Borno, which sparked global outrage. Not all of the girls have been returned yet, and the fight is still going on from Nigeria and surrounding nations, and also with the help of the United States in the return of these girls. Although Boko Haram has not committed any acts of terrorism against the United States directly, they still pose a great threat to our national security. Their goal is to overthrow the Nigerian government and unite the nation under the rule of Islamic State, or ISIS. If this were to happen, the global influence of ISIS would spread throughout Africa, giving them a base in Nigeria, and ultimately giving them a larger impact on the global landscape and create a greater threat into the United States. This would also hurt our nation's interests with Nigeria. who is on his way to becoming a global economic power and a great trade partner with the United States. According to Citibank, they will have the highest average growth in GDP between the years of 2010 and 2050, thanks to their large oil and petroleum reserves, which makes them an asset for the United States. To stop this threat, the United States has supplied the Nigerian forces with training and supplies to help them grow and eventually be able to handle this threat on their own. The opening up of relations between the United States and Nigeria to deal with this threat will only improve the United States' relationship and trade status with Nigeria in the future. However, the United States is hesitant of this relationship with Nigeria, not because of Boko Haram, but by the reputation of the Nigerian government, which has been seen to have multiple corrupt leaders and members throughout the recent years. But the United States are optimistic with the new leadership and will continue to work with their government in the effort to become better partners. The other major group that the United States is involved with in Africa is Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab was founded in 2006 and was designated a terrorist organization by the United States in 2008. Their focus is in Somalia, but have had some attacks in surrounding nations like Ethiopia, with upwards of 1,000 militants in their control throughout their whole operation. Similarly to Boko Haram, their goal is to turn Somalia into a fundamentalist Islamic state, and with them already controlling a good portion of the nation, the United States' involvement is more important now than ever. Al-Shabaab's control of Somalia is a threat to our national security. The one major way it is a threat is through Al-Shabaab's connections to Al-Qaeda. With Al-Shabaab's control of Somalia, this is crucial to Al-Qaeda's overall network. It would expand their power and influence throughout both Africa as well as around the world, which is very similar to ISIS in Nigeria, ultimately causing a greater threat to U.S. national security. Al-Shabaab's control of Somalia also endangers U.S. trade ships that conducts a large amount of trade in this region of the world, ultimately decreasing the number of exports and imports by the United States. This is because of links that have been found between both the pirates, Somali pirates, and Al-Shabaab. If the U.S. were to be successful in kicking Al-Shabaab out of Somalia, it would show the world, both our allies and our enemies, that the United States has the capabilities to inflict change throughout the world. To accomplish this, the U.S. has supplied troops to train the local military, along with providing supplies and technology to our soldiers. Along with the supplies and training, the U.S. military has conducted over 26 total airstrikes and drone strikes in the year 2017 alone, and have killed between 84 and 105 militants and are increasing their efforts in the recent years. But the military aid is not the only way we have helped in this fight. We have also engaged in political talks with the Somali government and its supporters to try and find the best course of action in solving this problem and ultimately getting Somalia back to its government and kicking Al-Shabaab out and ultimately Al-Qaeda out. In conclusion, Africa will continue to be an area of focus for the U.S. military in the coming years. As the threats increase, so will our presence in these areas. Whether the threat be from groups who are active today or groups that arise in the future, it will be the United States' mission to put down these threats and gain more relationship with the African nations.